Welcome, Miracles Tribe members and members of our Miracles Attraction community on Facebook. I'm Teresa McGallicher. I'm here today with my partner, Carly Hardy, and we have another inspirational guest for you today in our series on people whose lives have been positively impacted by A Course in Miracles. Our guest is Cay Villars, and she's coming to us from Mexico. Carly?
Thank you, Teresa, and thank you, Kay, for joining us today. So lovely to have you here. A little bit of background. Kay is a mystic in full devotion to following the voice of Jesus and to the recognition and celebration of divinity, the divine light within. It's the inner light that everyone shares and is referred to in John 9 of the Bible. Her storyline included adventures in consciousness in executive coaching, executive management, sales, marketing, business development, healer, coaching in prisons, and scientist, which led her to the realization that there is no storyline that has more value than the happiness of a divine being in celebration of all the love there is. She has been called the laughing mystic for the joy and sense of humor she expresses. So with that, we'll let you tell your own story, Kay.
Okay, about Course in Miracles. Yeah, you know, Jesus works with you, A Course in Miracles, even before you're taking A Course in Miracles. I think he has to get you ready for Course in Miracles. I first heard about Course in Miracles. I was doing Tony Robbins and doing some audios for him. And then I heard he interviewed Marianne Williamson. So that was the first thing. I was probably around 2000 or 1997 in that. And I guess I didn't really feel called to it at the time, but that was the first time it became an awareness. And then as I got deeper with Tony Robbins, and I just saw it was such a great way for me to start learning that beliefs are not true and to really explore and see, you know, the denials, all the denials inside that deny happiness. And so then I spent a lot of time with Tony Robbins, going to his events, and then eventually became a trainer for him. And he would lead groups of people at his events. And it's really about looking at the structure of how, you know, really denials of divinity, but you don't know it yet. You don't see it, you know, that you're denying your happiness. But it was a way for me to start working with people and coaching and to learn to hear the voice. Really, you know, to go in, because I was such a linear, you know, a scientist by training, and I was spending time in high-tech companies, pharmaceutical companies, you know, launched a brain imaging agent. So I was about as analytical to hide from God as I could be. It's, you know, absolute high limit. So when more of these intuitive kinds of things came, it was like a real kind of shock to the nervous system when I, you know, you wouldn't be talking about Jesus. Like I was about as far away from Jesus. I grew up Catholic. I didn't, you know, like this, anything having to do, you know, Jehovah's Witnesses run the other way. So I started again, working a lot with Tony Robbins and as a master practitioner in neurolinguistic programming. And you could just start seeing how easy it was to rewrite memory in the perception and consciousness. So that was really the training he was giving me in misperception, and how quickly, like phobias and, you know, bad things that seemingly happen to people, you could almost rewrite the tape, which is really what Course in Miracles is about. So I was learning about consciousness, and then I felt called to go into women's prison in Wisconsin and teach Tony Robbins' Get the Edge program, and didn't know how I was going to do that. But somehow, you see, the spirit makes the way. I didn't know what I was doing, like, but there was something in you, you know. It's like, I'm not talking to Jesus about it now. Like, you get, it's the call to God. There's something beyond when that guidance comes, you start seeing that it's not about saving the world. It was never about saving the world to go in prison. That is a great distinction that he's helped me make between playing a savior in the world and being in service to the whole. for two different people, it can look like the same thing, but it's not. One's guidance and one's not. So something in me, I thought, well, the I character thought, oh, I'll be just a really great coach. I'll go into prison. And it was definitely, as I just said in Satsang the other night, like the first time I went in there and they said, you can come in here, but you got to like talk them into being part of your program. And it's like one of those situations where you're guided, you don't know how it's going to happen, but there's a part of you that knows, it's functions. All these women, they work during the week and it's a Saturday morning. And I had to talk to them, and I went down into the basement before it started. And one woman said to me, like, why the hell are you why the hell are you here? You just, I didn't have Jesus and the Holy Spirit, but I had Jesus and the Holy Spirit. You know what I mean? I hadn't started the course, but there was some part of me. And I just said, look, if you're willing to come, I'm willing to, and I'm seeing this as the spiritual journey. It's like, I don't know what it's going to take. And Tony was so good at it, really teaching you how to grab the bull by the horns, and just, it was such good training for the fire walk with God, because, you go and when you're called, you answer the call and you go. And I didn't see, how much like fear and play of fear in the mind. And we don't really, until we spend a lot of time with Jesus. That's what I realized. But so I started going. And as I said, I was driving home crying every day, just crying my eyes out. But somehow I started to hear a voice. I mean, Jesus says I heard it before that, but it was guiding the coaching, like, and my mind was open. I can see how important that was, even before the course, how we have to be open to see it another way, because this woman came in for a coaching session and was going to ask for help. And I said, well, okay, what tape do you want to change? And she said, well, I got mad at my boyfriend and I stabbed him 7 times with a knife and he died. And I remember the thought rose like, okay, well, maybe she doesn't deserve to be helped. It was my doubt thought, see, about myself. And then somehow, but it was a question. It was enough of a question. So they came into my mind and I just could hear a voice saying, this serves no purpose, this guilt, see. And so he was already, even before the course, and I think if we all start looking, we'll find places where he's been coaching you already. To stand into it, not be blown sideways. And going into prison was so great, and to just, you fell in love. I fell in love with the women going and really looking and uncovering beliefs and seeing how consciousness creates experience and just latches on like it's real. So I did that for quite a while. And then the women's prison changed, so I couldn't go there anymore. And so then I thinking, oh my gosh, I can't go into a men's prison. Like, you just like, no way. And of course, then you call your mighty companions before you have mighties. And my friend Don, and he said, of course you can go in there. And I'm going, oh my gosh, it's going to be horrible. So I signed up, and it was, I can't even hardly speak about it. I had so much fun in prison. It's such a great metaphor. I mean, I loved every minute of it. It just, I discovered love in prison with the men. We had such a good time in the class, and a great way to learn to listen. So that was before I started the course. And I didn't actually start the course until 2010. So I was still coaching in prison, but the course started. And that voice, somehow you start, it's just like an intuition, we all have it. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be on the spiritual journey of a voice guiding you and telling me to do things that were like impossible. Like, there was all kinds of stuff in that prison that you just wouldn't do. Like, you give you instructions of things to do with the guys that you just think that there's like no way they're going to do, and then they would succeed. But it's all by listening and learning, listen and follow. So he was already like coaching me before I started a course. And then I started the course in 2010, and I had nightmares. I really literally thought, I don't know if this is not an advertiser, but I thought the devil was going to get me. I was having those kind of dreams, and a lot of physical symptoms were coming into awareness. Now that I have a relationship with Jesus, he can explain to me that that was all release. And so one of the most beautiful things he's giving me around the course over time is to ask him, of course, his interpretation. Am I holding or releasing? And I was doing so much forgiveness that it was just a lot of energy movement. I thought for sure I was going to die. I ended up going to the ER. He's going, no. That's why you have to ask Jesus what's his interpretation. But obviously I wasn't then. And then, so I did the course and I stopped and started it over and over. And, you forget your lessons, all the things but I could start to see in conversations how I felt like a predator. And what I'm seeing that I was seeing then was that seeing how the mind was working to want something. When I'd sit down in a conversation, I was always in that getting mode. How can I get something out of this? And I can see now how he was helping to clear my mind out. So of all of that kind of playing consciousness. So I think this was actually before I started the course. I can't remember the time. I guess I'd have to ask Jesus that. I think it was a little bit after the course, but I really wasn't so much thinking about God. I can't explain that. God wasn't on my radar at the time, but this guy came in for a coaching session. He's like this big, huge guy. I mean, he's huge. He filled the whole doorway for one-on-one coaching. And he said, I want to be a good man. And I said, okay, honey, that's good. So why don't you think you're a good man? Tell me about it. He said, and then he went off on this like complete diatribe about, somebody attacked his sister, or he had to protect his sister, and he had to throw that guy down a set of stairs. And then he's going, I'm going to go down to my car and get my gun. And I'm thinking, oh, but I don't know, something in me, like that voice must have been coaching me, because I said to him, I said, you believe in God, don't you? And he said, yeah, I believe in God. Yeah. And I said, well, why don't you ask God what he thinks about this protection? Okay, that's what I said. Where did that come from? I told somebody, I was thinking, oh my God, what if God tells them the wrong thing? Because I didn't know God that well. See, that was like one big doubt that what God was doing up there. But anyway, so 30 seconds, okay, 30 seconds, he got a tear in his eye. And I'm just going, holy smokes, now I really wanted to know what God was going to tell him. At that point, I was like glued. And he said, yes, I realized that if I'm doing that kind of protection, I'm not really available. I'm not going to be there for her. It was like, so all this coaching, right, that I would be doing, he talked through all the beliefs, and I just realized, I started seeing, no, there's something there. There's some kind of voice, okay, there's something, and so I started using God more in my coaching, and it was just, God's a solution, right? For all of us. It was for me, because I wasn't calling on God. I wasn't seeing that. And so anyway, so meanwhile, okay, I'm starting to take the course and really look within. And then after about 3 or 4 years, I can't remember exact timing, I was sleeping at my sister's, like taking a nap, when I had like a mystical vision, and Jesus came. And he put this light in my hand, this blue light. Now at the time, now I understand it. Like it took him a while before I could, it's like they're not necessary. They're just helpful, right? And not everyone needs them, but I needed it because I wasn't really wanting to talk to Jesus too much. And he had to kind of convince me to talk to him. But anyway, so he puts this blue light in my hand like this. And I didn't know that was the symbol of everything that we are. But you can see, when your mind's so cluttered with all these thoughts, you can't see what that is. You can take in only so much. So the next time that I went into the prison, there was this guy who was really upset. They'd come into coaching, they weren't happy about me being in prison. And I could just hear on the inside, the thing about it is the Spirit's always talking to us. This was helping me see that Jesus God, whatever you want to call it, everyone without exception can hear him, because I just said, okay, how about if, now imagine this, how does this happen in prison? It's a one-on-one coaching, you sit across the table, and I put my hands out. I said, okay, how about if we just focus on the light we share, we hold our hands together, just exactly like that blue symbol. And we're just going to focus on the light, and you just put all that you're feeling about this in the light, and then tell me what happened. Like, where did that come from? You know, I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm saying here. It's always so much like that in the beginning when Jesus is talking to you. It's like, what am I doing? I'm going to get thrown out of here somehow. But it was like 30 seconds, 20 seconds, all of a sudden. Zzz. And he just started, he talked like God. He was going, you know, he knew his next steps. He was talking like the wisdom of the universe, just like that other guy was doing. And then again, it just kept, my whole coaching changed from, okay, let's just look at this belief, blah, blah, blah. What does God say about it? What is the light? Let's put in the light. Let's look. And we do these sessions where, you know, you just put it in the light, and it would just, and another guy came in, he was blistering, I mean, really mad about not being let out of prison. Like, is this perfect? Is this like perfect for us? So he's really upset about being let out of prison, not being let out. And we did the same thing. It was like, zzz, that was gone. So that was for me to see the speed of the correction. And over, Jesus would show me how the speed of the correction was. So like, even though all these things were happening, I can see that it took like these little steps where I didn't even want to admit to anybody I could hear Jesus. Like, that was, you know, I was laughing, we were laughing here. I said, boy, you know, finally I could hear. I needed to tell my mom, and like, I just typed it in an email, like hit the send, so it would go. Admit I was taking the course or anyway, but Jesus kept sending me on these experiences, like to follow him. He sent me to Jerusalem, and it, you know, and just how to listen and follow him and go, and then sent me to different countries, listen and follow and go. So I just realized on contemplation, because I didn't think I was going to do the course anymore. I thought for sure, you know, I'm going to go with Muji. I'd been going to see Muji and loved it, and it was an assignment. But I was contemplating infinite light of being, and then it just came. Oh my gosh, because you can see the lights here. You know, you know it, the holy instant, it's here. And I was contemplating on that and realized, if it's not here all the time, then it must be a desire not for it to be here. And I don't know, something that just cracked open, and all of a sudden, like about within the next 3 months, I just started typing one day, and out just poured some, you know, things about the light and about desires and about, and I just happened to walk out. It was at Jimmy Twyman's. You were asking about Jimmy, and I handed it to someone, and they go, well, wow, where's the next chapter? It's like, I'm not thinking there's a I'm not there. I guess there's another chapter. And what happened in that was, it began this intimate conversation with Jesus, for me to ask him everything about desires, where he was teaching me about desires, and he was showing me how consciousness uses the relishing of a desire to hold on to to not accept a miracle. And then he was showing me all these beliefs out of Course in Miracles that I still had them in the subconscious mind. It was like, oh my God, look at that one, and this one, and that one, and this one, and that one. But anyway, so he just guided me through typing that. And it was like for me to listen, and where do you put a period, Jesus, and what do you want here? And one is, and you can see it. I have notes that I took while I was writing it. It became Jesus, a New Covenant, a message for Course in Miracles students, for me to have that conversation. And then what he said in it is to imply that any being cannot hear my voice in fullness now is to deny the Father's will. It was like, he was so definitive that everyone, that this is the message. You can hear my voice now, and I will help you. And I will show you where every one of those things are buried in your subconscious mind. And that I'm in control of miracles. You have to turn every miracle over to me. You don't, you perform the miracles, but you have to ask me to show you which ones to look at. And if you start reading the course, you can see it. You can see it in Helen's notes, how he needs to be in control of every miracle. So now it's like, that's what we do here. We just go, okay, Jesus, show us which desire, which is relished, where the miracles aren't wanted. So, you know, and then he finally, you know, he just gave me guidance to find a place here in Mexico, and it's devoted to him. It's like those who want to speak to Jesus and learn how to be taken into the subconscious mind, exactly where they need to go. And what's priceless about it is, like, you know, we've got the Joining in Light Miracle worksheet where he gives, here's your instructions, exactly from A Course in Miracles. Don't spend any time on it. Ask me, you know, join with me on Model Light. Look right here. I'm going to show you. And you'll think, oh, it's all about this, whatever's the upset of the day is. And then he'll take you down, and it'll be something like way over in the corner you never would have thought of. You know, it's usurping the power of God. It's like, good gracious God. It's like, Jesus, am I usurping the power of God? And he tells you, yes. And then he walks you right through, you know, here's what you need to look at. If you ask him, here's how you think heaven and hell are flipped. So, and that's what we just, that's, and then you just see how easy it is to release all these things. The hard part is not wanting to hear that voice and being selective about that voice. So also, when beings come here, they learn to talk to Jesus about, Jesus, where don't I want to hear you? Where don't I want to follow you in full? And he'll tell them, he'll tell you, you can talk to him, you know, it's amazing. The number of beings that'll jump on the joins, and the first thing they'll say is, I don't think I can hear Jesus. And like 2 minutes later, they're like talking like, it's like, everyone can hear Jesus. It's just, we got to clear out the, you know, the little tricks in the mind that it's not valuable to hear them. And so, yeah, so we have a 90 Days with Jesus program where you talk to Jesus with a partner. He's really been emphasizing, look, Course in Miracles serves its purpose. It still does. Everything in a new covenant is about A Course in Miracles. But what he's emphasizing is, look, if you're not joining with your brother, you're not joining with me. To look, to release, like the discussion won't get you there. It's the direct experience of me going down into the mind with you to clear the denials. And that you know, it's Christ control. It's really learning Christ control. He's in charge of the atonement. He'll show you where the, you know, the no's are. And so that's the focus. Like, we join. We have 20, you know, we have a joining group. If somebody wants to jump a join, they're there. We're going to have more and more groups that people, if you want to facilitate one, they can jump on board, come facilitate them, so that we have every night of the week, almost every night, a group where you can jump on to look at releasing these no's. And we have lots of beings have been going through that chapter 20. It's like a concentration, so much from the course, where he just said, look, here's the belief you believe from the course. Let me show you how you're desiring that experience. So chapter 20 is a really deep dive. They can go in with him, and he coaches them one-on-one. Every single being that's done. There have been no exceptions that want to, you know, want to have that deep relationship, but you'll start to see where you're protecting part of your mind from him. So that's kind of, you know, and so now I just follow him full time, and the happiness is like, it's not of this world, you know, like every promise, but really, you know, you have to go until, because the ego is going to convince you, you know, we had a session on Dark Night of the Soul. It's going to do everything to not have you see, because it's a desired experience not to recognize right here, right now, all the love of the Father. But he's made it so simple, so simple. If you just follow his instructions on that worksheet, you'll see. It's like, I'm really liking it down here. So we're also going to have, he's telling us to bring it to psychotherapy, to counseling groups. He wants to take this mainstream. Okay, Jesus, I don't know how that's happening, but I'll just say yes, because the potency of it for the healing of the mind for all of us, It's just for whoever's wants to heal their mind fully. It's for them, you know, it's just a simple means given by him. So yeah, has it changed? Yes, completely. From a scientist to a mystic that finally admitted that I can talk to Jesus, you know, that's it. And then you just follow, you know, and then you get to be led to beings like you know, Jesus gives you assignment, you come join. So thank you for inviting me. And I'm open for any questions. Anyone can contact us and who wants to go for God.
What a beautiful story, Cay. Thank you so much for sharing it with us and with our audience. And can you tell our listeners where they can find you online?
Yes, we have, they can find us at joininginlight.net. And we have a Facebook page, Joining in Light. Devotional Center, they can find us there. Yeah, probably joininginlight.net is the easiest way to find us.
Great. And we'll post links to that in conjunction with this recording. And once again, we appreciate you joining with us here today.
Thank you for inviting me. I send you love.